Xin chào các bạn, mình là Danny. Và bây giờ mình sẽ cho các bạn xem ví dụ về thuyết trình nhé.
Language for presentations. In this video, you will learn standard phrases that we use when we make a presentation. Listen and repeat the phrases. Pause the video, record yourself, and listen to your recording. This is how you begin presentations with greetings. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Hello, friends. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Then you move on to the introduction. Introduction of yourself and the topic. Today I'm going to give you a short presentation on. My name is. I'm here to make a presentation on. The topic of my presentation is. I'm Meera Lal. Today I'll be giving a short presentation on effective water management strategies. Here are useful phrases for overviews or gist of your presentation. My presentation is in 3 parts. My presentation is divided into 3 main sections. Firstly, secondly, finally, I'm going to take a look at, talk about, focus on, examine, tell you something about the background, give you some facts and figures, fill you in on the history of, concentrate on, limit myself to the question of. You could give the audience instructions on when to ask questions. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation. I'd be grateful if you could ask me questions at the end of the presentation. The main body of a presentation is where you present the main facts. Here are useful phrases you could use. Let us look at. Here are some facts about. Here are some of the reasons for. Several factors contribute to. It has certain merits as well as certain drawbacks. Let us consider the. Let us look at the pros and cons of. There are several types of. Let us compare with. Here is an interesting graph, picture, piece of information. I'd like you to focus on this graph, table, image. When you are moving from one point to another, you could use the following phrases. I'd now like to move on to. I'd like to turn to. That's all I have to say about. Now I'd like to look at. This leads me to my next point. Now I'll focus on. Let's look at another aspect of. Now let us consider another. Let us come to the next point. If you are using visuals or pictures, here are some useful phrases you could use. This graph shows you. Take a look at this. If you look at this, you will see. I'd like you to look at this. This chart illustrates the figures. This graph gives you a breakdown of. As you can see, this clearly shows. From this we understand. This area of the chart is interesting. When you're summarizing, you could use some of the phrases given below. This brings me to the end of my presentation. I've talked about. Well, that's about it for now. We've talked about. So that was our marketing strategy. In brief, to summarize, let us sum up the main ideas. Here are the key points of today's talk. So we looked at. Relate the end of your presentation to the beginning. So, I hope you are a little clearer now on how we can achieve sales growth of 20%. To return to the original question, we can achieve. So, to round off the talk, I want to go back to the beginning when I asked you. I hope my presentation today will help you with what I said at the beginning. Use the sentences given below when you're thanking your audience and inviting questions. Thank you for listening. And now, if there are any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them. That brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. I will be glad to answer any questions you might have. Would anyone like to ask questions? Does anyone have any questions? If anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. You could use the following when you're handling questions. If you have answered the question, check that the person who asked you the question is happy. Does this answer your question? Do you follow what I'm saying? I hope this explains the situation to you. I hope is what you wanted to hear. Was my answer clear enough? Have I clarified your doubt? If you don't know the answer, you should admit that you don't know. It is better to admit not knowing something than to guess and give a wrong answer. You could say something like, "That's a very good question. However, we don't have much information about that, and I cannot give you an accurate answer." "That's a very good question. However, I'm not very sure about the answer. Would anyone in the audience like to answer the question?" Unfortunately, I'm not the best person to answer that. And this is the end of your presentation. That brings us to the end of the presentation. Thank you. Congratulations! You have learned standard phrases that are used while making presentations. Thank you.
Hãy like, share để bạn bè mình cùng học, subscribe và đồng hành cùng mình trong các video tiếp theo và hãy comment mọi thắc mắc để được hướng dẫn học cụ thể nhé.